Stephen A. Smith has just delivered a brutal reality check, and it's shaking the entire GOAT debate. His argument is simple but explosive, why LeBron can never truly match Jordan. From Jordan's perfect record on the biggest stage to LeBron's unforgettable stumble in 2011, the comparison turned intense in seconds. But this conversation goes deeper than highlight reels and championship counts. It forces fans to confront something uncomfortable. What really defines greatness? Is it the dominance you can measure, or the moments when pressure hits and failure never shows up? Because in sports, numbers tell part of the story, but legacy is written in the moments when everything is on the line. And that's exactly where this debate refuses to stay quiet.
When it comes to, that conversation of the GOAT, right, where you say you have them second.
Yeah.
As players, we try to understand what is the criteria.
It all began with what sounded like a harmless question, but within seconds, it sparked one of the fiercest basketball arguments in recent memory. When Stephen A. Smith revealed his all-time rankings and placed LeBron James at number 2, the atmosphere in the room instantly shifted. You could feel the tension building. One voice pushed back, asking the question that changed everything. What standards are we even using to judge greatness? And just like that, the conversation stopped being casual and became something much bigger. What followed wasn't just a sports debate. It was a complete breakdown of how greatness itself is measured. Stephen A. didn't hesitate. He leaned forward with that unmistakable intensity and gave an answer that made everyone pause. He admitted the question was fair and maybe impossible to settle with one single definition. But that honesty only opened the door to a deeper, more revealing discussion. Because here's the reality he pointed out. Players and media don't see greatness the same way. Athletes recognize the details outsiders often miss. They know who draws triple teams every night. They understand which teams overachieve against impossible odds. They live the pressure, the matchups, the adjustments, the hidden layers that never show up in simple stats or championship counts. And that difference in perspective, that's where the real tension lives. Then came the moment that changed the tone completely. Stephen A. laid out his case with precision, not just opinions, but a carefully stacked wall of evidence. When the conversation turned to Michael Jordan, the numbers alone demanded attention. 6 trips to the finals, 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, perfect dominance on basketball's biggest stage. And perhaps most staggering of all, not once did a final series with Jordan reach a Game 7. Not once. Pause and think about that. Every single time he reached the final stage, he closed the door completely. No last game drama. No razor-thin survival. Just total control when the stakes were highest. But Stephen A. made it clear, this wasn't just about statistics. He described a pattern, a mindset, a standard of performance under maximum pressure. Again and again, in the most intense moments imaginable, Jordan delivered. Not occasionally, not sometimes, consistently, relentlessly, without hesitation. And that's exactly why emotions ran so high in that room. Because when you look at that level of finals dominance, it feels almost unreal. Each championship run wasn't just a victory. It was a statement. Every climb to the top ended the same way. Complete control, zero uncertainty, and no debate about who ruled the game at that moment. That's when the argument truly caught fire. Because once greatness is framed that way, not just as success, but as absolute command when everything is on the line, the conversation stops being simple and becomes almost impossible to settle.
We do remember the finals against the Mavs. We do remember that you struggled in the fourth quarter of 4 consecutive games. We do remember that J.J. Barea and Jason Terry were guarding your ass and you didn't do something about it.
2 excellent defenders.
Well, no. So I'm just saying that you look at something like that, that don't stop you from being number 2, but it'll stop you from being number 1 because you know what Jordan would have done because Jordan did it.
And if you're still watching, consider yourself part of the debate now, because the question hanging in the air refuses to go away. If Michael Jordan never lost on the final stage, can LeBron truly be called the greatest of all time? Yes or no? It sounds simple, but the answer has divided fans for decades. And that's exactly where the conversation took a sharper turn. This is where Stephen A. Smith showed why so many people call him one of the sharpest voices in basketball analysis. He didn't just criticize LeBron James. He made sure to fully acknowledge what makes him extraordinary first. Before delivering his toughest point, he carefully laid out the respect LeBron has earned throughout his career. He reminded everyone that wherever LeBron has played, teams have risen with him. From struggling rosters to championship contenders, his presence alone transforms expectations. His physical dominance, elite vision, and unmatched versatility make him a nightmare matchup. At 6 feet 9 inches and built like a powerhouse, he can control the paint, run the floor, and create scoring opportunities almost at will. In transition, he's devastating. In half-court offense, he's surgical. Players like him don't just play the game. They reshape it. Stephen A. made something else very clear. LeBron's impact guarantees competitiveness. His teams rarely collapse completely because he elevates everyone around him. That kind of influence, that ability to lift entire organizations, is something only a handful of players in history have ever possessed. And in that sense, LeBron's greatness is undeniable. But then came the turning point, the moment that shifted admiration into harsh scrutiny. Stephen A. brought up the series that still follows LeBron's legacy like a shadow, the 2011 NBA Finals against the Dallas Mavericks. He reminded everyone that during that matchup, LeBron struggled to take control late in games. He didn't dominate the fourth quarter the way many expected. And in those defining moments, role players like J.J., Barea, and Jason Terry were able to slow him down. That memory still lingers because it happened when expectations were at their highest. LeBron was in his prime. The stage was set. The spotlight was unavoidable. And yet, the performance didn't match the moment. According to Stephen A., that single chapter doesn't erase greatness, but it creates a contrast that can't be ignored. Because when people think about Michael Jordan in the finals, they think of relentless control. They think of a player who, once he reached the championship stage, never let the outcome slip away. The argument wasn't just about winning. It was about how consistently dominance showed up when everything was on the line. Then the discussion expanded, and another legend entered the spotlight. When people brought up Kobe Bryant, Stephen A. delivered perspective that caught many off guard. He described Kobe as perhaps the closest stylistic reflection of Jordan the game has ever seen. A player who studied him, mirrored him, and built his mindset around the same relentless competitive fire. Kobe reached extraordinary heights, captured multiple championships, and built one of the fiercest legacies in NBA history. But even with all that greatness, Stephen A. argued, Kobe never fully surpassed the standard he chased. He came incredibly close, closer than most, but the comparison still pointed back to Jordan as the benchmark. That idea shifted the conversation from performance to something deeper, the difficulty of chasing perfection itself. Then came a surprising reminder that changed how some people viewed Kobe's journey entirely. Unlike many all-time greats who were handed immediate leadership roles, Kobe began his career coming off the bench. For 2 full seasons, he watched, learned, and waited. While many future legends were building their dominance from day one, he had to earn every opportunity. That slow beginning makes his eventual rise even more remarkable. His greatness wasn't immediate. It was built step by step through patience, growth, and relentless work. And just when the debate felt complete, another example surfaced, Tracy McGrady. His playoff battles showed how context can complicate legacy. His team once pushed a heavily favored opponent far beyond expectations. They weren't supposed to win multiple games, yet they did. But the counterargument remained just as sharp. If victory was within reach, why didn't they finish the job? That tension between context and results became the heart of the entire debate. Stephen A.'s reasoning followed a clear pattern. He acknowledged circumstances. He recognized difficulty. He credited achievements. But in the end, he returned to one defining principle. True greatness leaves no room for doubt. No explanations. No what-ifs. No unfinished stories. Jordan's legacy, in that view, stands untouched because it offers no openings for excuses. LeBron's 4 championships, historic longevity, and unmatched ability to elevate teams make him one of the greatest ever. But that 2011 moment introduced vulnerability. Kobe's relentless work and championship success brought him incredibly close, but he still fell short of overtaking the standard he pursued, and that's where the conversation ultimately landed. This wasn't about disrespect. It was about perspective, about how different people define greatness, perfection versus endurance, peak dominance versus sustained brilliance. Stephen A's argument wasn't emotional. It was structured, detailed, and unwavering. So now the question returns to you. Does context matter more than results? Should longevity, versatility, and leadership carry more weight than an unblemished record on the biggest stage? Or does perfection under pressure remain the ultimate measuring stick? Because in the end, chasing Michael Jordan isn't just about skill. It's about mentality, composure, and delivering without hesitation when history is watching. And that standard, maybe the hardest one in sports to reach. So where do you stand? Team Stephen A. or Team LeBron?